great Indian poet Tagore once said, "Love is not a mere emotion. Love is the ultimate truth at the heart of creation." We are living in very interesting times. Scientific medicine is giving us a great understanding of how the human body works. But at the same time, we are beginning to recognize that the human body is a remarkable symphony. There's a genius inside you and me, and this genius is the inner intelligence of the body that mirrors the wisdom of the universe. Today we are going to visit 3 centers. We are going to take you to the Beth Israel Hospital Deaconess Medical Center, a teaching hospital affiliated with Harvard Medical School, where doctors are combining the best of scientific medicine with a deep nurturing of emotions and spirit. We're going to take you to the experts in holistic healing who are going to show you how diet, sound, touch, sight, and taste and smell access the inner pharmacy which makes wonder drugs for you. And finally, we're going to take you deep into your inner self, where you will recognize that your body and the body of the cosmos are one, where you join the synchronistic dance of the universe and have the spontaneous fulfillment of your deepest desires. We are going to journey into the soul of healing.
Dr. DEEPAK Chopra is an MD who practiced for a number of years here in Boston as an endocrinologist. Before deciding to give that up and to begin looking intensively at a whole series of other important aspects of the healing process. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce DEEPAK Chopra, a man whose work in this area has brought him truly national and international prominence, and who will talk to us today about the soul of healing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mollering. Thank you, sir, for giving me the privilege to be here and share some ideas. As Dr. Mollering mentioned, I'm an MD. My basic training is in endocrinology, and my particular interest was neuroendocrinology, which is a study of brain chemistry and brain chemicals and brain peptides or hormones. And I came to this country in 1970, a year before my little brother, Sanjeev Chopra, who is the faculty dean here at Harvard Medical School, continuing medical education program, and professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. 1970 was a very interesting year because the Vietnam War was coming to an end. There was a great shortage of doctors, and I had finished my educational council for foreign medical graduates examination, but I had no experience whatsoever. And I started to work extremely hard, getting really stressed sometimes, but still working extremely hard, trying to make lots of money, but spending more than I could make, spending endless amounts of money that I hadn't earned to buy things that I really didn't need, to impress people that I really didn't care about. And I started to feel after a while that I was becoming a superb technician who knew everything about the human body. But in the meanwhile, I'd lost my own soul. It was then that I started to go back to some of the great wisdom traditions and see what they had to say about healing, about the soul. Do we even have a soul? We are the only creatures on this planet who wonder about things like that. Do I have a soul? Where did I come from? What's the meaning and purpose of my existence? And before I proceed further, I'd like to actually ask you to try something right now with me. I'd like everyone to close their eyes and see if you can evoke a mood. As you're listening to me right now, just become aware of who's listening. So as you listen to me, become aware of the listener. And if you feel a presence there, if you feel an awareness there, it's your soul. This presence, Rumi says, you are that freshness and I'm with you now. This presence was there when you were a baby. This presence was there when you were a teenager. It's there now because all happens in this presence. Thoughts come and go, emotions come and go, molecules come and go. All comes and goes in this presence. Throughout this hour, I'll be talking to physicians about the science of healing. But from time to time, I'm going to take you into ancient wisdom traditions and show you how they offer tools to us to integrate the experience of mind, body, and soul. Here's a technique where sound can be used for healing. Listen to the sound of that ocean, those waves. Those sounds have been there for a long, long time. They are primordial. And your cells remember those sounds. And when your cells resonate to those sounds, they tune in to the rhythms of the universe. A long time ago, we lived in that primordial ocean. One day we came out of it and we brought it with us. More than 60% of our body is that ocean. It has the same constituents and is subject to the same cycles as that ocean is. So inside us we have biological rhythms that are tidal rhythms. There's almost a nostalgic feeling when we hear nature sounds, when we hear the rush of wind, when we hear the ocean waves, when we hear the sound of the seagulls. There's a memory that is evoked, and healing is nothing other than the restoration of that memory of wholeness, that we're not separate from the universe. We are a strand in this cosmic web, and when we feel aligned with the elements and forces that weave that cosmic web, not only is there a sense of balance and health and well-being, there's a sense of joy, of exaltation, of ecstasy, and that's when we start to experience the synchronistic intelligence of the universe. I am now going to introduce to you 6 postulates or principles that will help you understand how healing really works. Postulate 1, that healing is real and is biologically orchestrated. We have a pharmacy inside us that has evolved over billions of years of evolutionary time. It makes wonderful drugs. And this pharmacy is the product of our experience, not only my experience, but the experience of my ancestors. So if I meet a pneumococcus for the first time, I know how to make the precise antibody for it, even though I've never met this chap before. Some ancestor learned how to do it, and I have that knowledge. If I break down my skin after a fall and I bruise, I have a clotting cascade that has also evolved over millions of years of evolutionary time. Every day my cells mutate, and theoretically we should all be getting cancer, but we have the precise mechanisms in our immune surveillance system that get rid of those mutations. It's an exquisite pharmacy that makes wonder drugs. When you experience tranquility, your white cells and leukocytes make diazepam, which is Valium. So some of the great wisdom traditions tell us that the body is the metabolic end product of experience. If you want to know what your experiences were like in the past, examine your body now. If you want to know what your body will look like in the future, examine your experiences right now, because we metabolize every wisp of experience that comes our way, and we metabolize it into our body. And when there's a disruption of these self-repair mechanisms, then we have illness. And of course, we can correct those with the appropriate mechanistic interventions, but what we can never replicate truly is the symphony that the body is. Postulate number 2. A naturally induced state of euphoria has biological consequences far beyond feeling good. You know, on September 11, I'd just taken out a flight from New York City to the West Coast, and about within 15 minutes, my son, Gotham, also took a flight to the West Coast on another plane from JFK. 1 hour later, I was stranded in Detroit, and of course, we heard the terrible news of the planes going into the buildings in New York. And for 6 hours, my whole body unleashed physiological chaos because of that information. Was he on the plane or was he not on the plane? For 6 hours, I bet you if you had come and examined me, you would have seen cortisol elevations and blood pressure elevations and all kinds of things that you could document, because there was the unleashing of physiological chaos. And then suddenly he called me on the phone. And as soon as I heard his voice, right there in that moment, my body calmed down, of course, to be followed by deep sorrow at what had happened later. Information translated into biological response. That's how we have the placebo effect. We shouldn't dismiss the placebo effect, nor should we dismiss the nocebo effect. Today, patients, we know that patients, as they're going to their chemotherapy unit, just the thought that they're going to get chemotherapy and radiation, as they're anticipating the side effects, their white count, their platelet count starts to go down. In anticipation, that information, subjective information, translates into biological information. Postulate number 4, information transcends space-time. Information theorists now tell us that information does not reside in space and time, that information is the symbolic expression of uncertainty, it's the symbolic expression of unpredictability, and now it's an accepted principle of science, that at the most fundamental levels of nature there is unpredictability. In fact, Einstein in his later years said, as far as the laws of nature are real, they are not certain. As far as the laws of nature are certain, they are not real. There must be another force in consciousness that takes that chaos and from it gives us insight and free will and intention and imagination and intuition and creativity and meaning and purpose and decision making. These are the functions of our consciousness. This leads us to the 5th postulate, that the healer state of physical health, emotional and spiritual well-being, actually influences and modulates the biological healing response of the person that is being healed. You know, the patient likes to feel that my doctor cares about me, my doctor thinks about me, I am in my doctor's thoughts, has a physiological response through this phenomenon of limbic regulation, where your internal world is actually regulating the internal world of another. When you really listen to your patient, with your heart, with your mind, with your soul, with your total being, then you're resonating limbically with them. This work is coming out now from University of San Francisco Medical School. Dr. Thomas Lewis has written an extraordinary book on limbic regulation. It's called A General Theory of Love, and I recommend it very highly because it proves how the thoughts of the physician, the therapist, actually internal environment of the therapist influences the internal environment of the person that is being healed. Postulate number 6, the soul is a field of intelligence where space, time, matter, information, energy all become inseparably one field, whatever we want to call that field. Okay? At that level, everything is instantly correlated with everything else. How does a single-stranded DNA differentiate simultaneously into eyes and nose and hair follicles and nails and synaptic networks and cardiac muscles we all started as a double-stranded DNA when our fathers had a gleam in their eye when they looked at our mothers. And that double-stranded DNA had to only multiply 50 times. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 16, 16 became 64, and then you can do the calculation. 50 replications and 100 trillion cells, more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And every cell knows what every other cell is doing. A human body can think thoughts, play a piano, kill germs, remove toxins, and make a baby all at the same time. So with those 6 postulates, I would like to offer to you that what the ancient wisdom traditions told us is that when you meditate, when you silence your mind, and when there's a progressive silencing in your mind so that your internal dialogue is totally quiet, then you have transcended space-time. Now that we have understood the 6 postulates for a consciousness-based medicine, we can go into the mechanics of healing the physical body. But before we do that, let me show you a simple way to meditate. Meditation is a way to just be and allow your spirit to blossom with its fullness, with its purity, with its intelligence. And now let's do a healing meditation, a heart meditation, and show you how to change your heart rate and blood pressure and so on, which is extremely useful for people who are having stress. Okay, so close your eyes and put all your attention in your heart, in the area of your heart, in the center of your chest. Put all your awareness in that area. And for the next few minutes, experience gratitude. And the best way to experience gratitude is to think of all the things that are happening right now in your life for which you could be grateful. Your family, your friends, the people you love, the people who love you. And now think of a place in your body that needs healing, and just bring your awareness, no thoughts, just awareness, to any place in your body that needs healing. And if you don't think you need physical healing, then all of us need some emotional healing. Bring it back into your heart. You're a human being, not a human thinking, not a human doing. We spend our whole life thinking and doing and never being. So now very gently, start to open your eyes. Slowly open your eyes. Take your time. The ability to think is an extraordinary human ability, but the ability to not think is even more extraordinary. In this section, I'm going to speak about how the 5 senses work synchronistically to access our inner pharmacy. But I'm also going to teach you some practical tools that you can use in your everyday life. There's a great Sufi poem of a great Sufi poet, Rumi, where he says, "I've lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking at the door opens, I've been knocking from the inside." What a great insight that our cognition, which means our thinking, our emotions, our moods, our knowing, our perception, what we see out there, and our biology are inseparable. Why do I separate the observer from the observed? After all, the observer is part of the observed. The seer is part of the scenery. The knower is an inherent part of that which is known. So in a way, science has, by making sure that it stays in the realms of strict objectivity, has excluded an important part of reality. For 300 years, we have had a model which we call the reductionist model, thanks to Isaac Newton's physics and the French philosopher René Descartes. René Descartes made a deal with the Pope. He said, "You take care of the soul, I'll take care of the body." And ever since then, we have had this schism. The soul is the realm of theologians and spiritual teachers, and the body is the realm of science. But if these are real realities, then everything should be in the realm of science as well. Our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our desires, our memories, our drives, our impulses, our instincts are inseparable with the external world that we perceive through our senses of sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell. Sound has been used by every wisdom tradition in the world because it's a sensory input, and there are now studies that show that music decreases sedative requirements during spinal anesthesia, for example, or reduces post-op pain in cabbage patients, or improves post-hysterectomy recovery. Sound, music, vibration, symphony, synchronization, they all refer to the restoration of our rhythms through vibration. Vibration is the essence of the universe. Take a little time every day to quieten the mind and then listen to some sound that evokes either nostalgia, a pleasurable experience, a beautiful memory. Listen to the sounds of innocent children laughing. Listen to the sounds of nature, Gregorian chants. You know, the word enchantment comes from on, which means to become one, and chant, to chant. Enchantment is the magic of healing that happens when you become one with the spirit through chanting. And the chanting is the primordial vibrations of nature. Tibetan gongs with different vibratory frequencies that resonate in different parts of the body. So again, close your eyes and see which parts of your bodies resonate as I make these sounds. Different parts resonate. And when the sound subsides, listen to the silence. Listen to the roar of the silence. Listen to the absence of the sound. It's as powerful and even more powerful than the vibration of the sound. In most healing traditions, healing is part of a ritual, because ritual traps our attention, it traps our intention. Ritual is a way of channeling biological information, and attention and intention are the channeling of information and energy. So too, touch is biological information. A study from University of Florida that took premature infants and divided them into two groups. In one group they had 5 minutes of touch. They didn't call it touch, they called it kinesthetic tactile stimulation, which is our Orwellian term for touch. God forbid, call it love. But those babies that received tactile kinesthetic stimulation gained an average of 47% more weight per day, fed on exactly the same formula, leading the investigators to conclude, or other people to conclude, in a journal Pediatrics, in the editorial, that tactile kinesthetic stimulation is a cost-effective strategy because you can discharge the babies much earlier. Nurturing touch not only helps babies, it can have a healing effect on adults as well. Let us show you a simple self-massage procedure that you can follow at home. When you massage your skin, then touch becomes healing therapy, because once again it triggers the internal pharmacy. And Maureen will actually demonstrate a self-massage that you can do in 3 minutes, and all kinds of wonderful things can be introduced through the skin, including antioxidants, phytochemicals, nutrients. We can access this through oils, through self-massage.
I like to start with the scalp.
It's anti-inflammatory, it's been used thousands of years in many healing traditions across the world.
Moving to the face and neck. Don't forget about the ears. Ears are very important.
You don't have to go to a fancy spa. You can be traveling. I travel all over the world. I carry my little bottle of oil with me.
Don't forget the hands, pulling off at each finger. Long strokes creating friction and heat. Circular motion at the knees.
It's very invigorating, which is very healing, very balancing, either to increase energy or calm yourself down or trigger the healing response from within. And so to visual stimuli. It's a study from Boston many years ago. Dr. McClellan, he actually had medical students in this area watch a video of Mother Teresa. And believe it or not, your IgA levels in your saliva go up if you watch Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa is good for your immune surveillance mechanisms. It's a visual expression that allows you to transcend space and time. Taste is also information. The animals in the forest have no idea what the USDA is recommending as the minimal requirement of vitamin A or calcium or vitamin D, but their subjective experience, their receptors, have the information that's contained in taste. And today we know that if you have access to the 6 tastes of life, then you in fact have all these sources from carbohydrates to organic acids to mineral salts and tannins. We live in a society where sometimes we have access only to 3 tastes, sweet, sour, and salt, ketchup, and hamburgers, or French fries. So we are missing out on these very powerful things. Then we synthesize them and say, well, oh, we can use lycopene in tomatoes and grapefruit for the treatment of cancer. Remember, that might help, but it doesn't have the biosynergy that comes from your inner intelligence, the ultimate and supreme genius that mirrors the wisdom of the universe. Now that we have seen how nature's pharmacy informs us through the sense of taste, let us actually see the foods that we can use as medicine. Nature doesn't come along and say, I'm a vitamin, I'm a mineral, I'm an antioxidant. Nature says, look at me, taste me, smell me. The 6 tastes of life contain all the phytochemicals, all the other nutrients, micronutrients that we need for a healthy, balanced body. Leanne, co-author and nutritionist here, will tell you what these foods are and what they contain. So tell me, which are the sweet tastes here?
The sweet tastes include our mangoes, our melons, the sweet corn, bananas, avocados. These all have a very distinct sweet taste.
And here I see the sour taste. What do we have here?
Sour oranges and lemons, pineapple, strawberries, tomatoes. Those are all sour.
Natural salt I see from seaweed.
And
vegetables. Bitter, show me the bitter.
Bitter, we have the dark leafy green vegetables, broccoli, yellow vegetables, zucchini. All the green and yellow vegetables are bitter.
And the pungent over there, I see
the
pungent tastes contain things like terpenoids, which are anti-inflammatory and are known to be useful in many autoimmune disorders. And here I see
eggplant.
Astringent tastes.
Yeah. The eggplant right here.
That's right.
Yeah, the purple and red colors.
Okay. So here, something very interesting. The combination of sweet, sour, and salt decreases your metabolism. If you're the kind of person who says, I can eat anything I want and never seem to gain weight, then you need to take those and that'll calm you down and decrease your metabolism. When you take just one active chemical out and you synthesize it, you might take the intelligence out, but you leave the wisdom behind. Nature has a wisdom that is much more superior to isolated chemical intelligence. Nature's the best and most exquisite pharmacy. Aromatherapy, which is a thing that's being used frequently now in complementary approaches, enhances immune function, reduces the need for antidepressant medication, can be sedating or activating. In Ayurveda, different kinds of smells have different metabolic effects on the body. Many years ago, we were asked at our center to help in the treatment of a young boy with Wilms tumor. He was 4 or 5 years of age at that time, and he was getting chemotherapy to which he was really responding, except that every time he received it, he would have intense nausea, vomiting, and he would rapidly dehydrate, and it became a huge problem in his treatment. So we brought him to our center, and we used all the things I'm talking to you about: music therapy, aromatherapy, massage therapy, play, and many other things, cognitive changes. And he started to tolerate his chemotherapy. He was not getting the intense nausea and vomiting, and he started to respond to it, and he started to do extraordinarily well. But one day we were actually taking him to a different part of the building, and we happened to go through an elevator, and he suddenly started having intense nausea and vomiting, and he rapidly dehydrated within a few hours. And it took us a while to figure out that the smell in the elevator, the antiseptic smell in the elevator, actually reminded his limbic system of the chemotherapy unit where he used to get his chemotherapy before. So you see how integrating the two approaches can make life easier for everyone. So now let us examine how we can use aromatherapy for healing. Because your smell receptors are direct extensions of a part of your brain that is the emotional brain, you smell baking bread and you think of your grandmother. You smell a perfume, you're reminded of an old romance. Catherine, you have a few aromas here that are traditionally used in aromatherapy in Ayurveda.
We do. We have
Tell
some
me.
dosha-specific essential oils here.
Mm-hmm.
The first one we have here is the Vata essential oil.
So dosha-specific, constitution-specific. What does that contain, the Vata oil?
It has some fruitier aromas.
Fruity and floral aromas like rose and lavender, they calm us, they slow the metabolism. They're extremely useful in people who have menstrual dysfunction, who have migraine headaches, muscle spasms, irritable bowel, insomnia, restlessness, anxiety.
Exactly.
What else do you have here?
Next we have the Pitta essential oil, which has more sweet and cooling
aromas. So pittas are essential oils which are anti-inflammatory. They're cooling. So peppermint, spearmint, sandalwood. These are really good for people who have inflammatory emotions, anger, for example, or hostility, but also inflammatory things happening in the body, heartburn, inflammation of any kind, anything that ends with an itis, arthritis, sinusitis, etc. So when we link our emotions, our autonomic function, our smells and memories together with aromatherapy, we have a great window to the internal pharmacy. Healing the body is not enough. We must also heal our emotions, because the body and our emotions are inseparably one. When a baby is born, the mother actually helps regulate homeostasis in the baby through emotional interaction. A baby does not recognize language, but a baby responds to voice tone, to facial expressions, to body language, to body movements of the mother, and that process is called limbic regulation. Lack of limbic regulation in the child, which means touch, singing, playfulness, gestures, laughter, lack of limbic regulation in a child is fatal. It's as serious, if not more serious, than clothing and shelter and food. In other words, love is a healing force that's so important in creating the healing or evoking the healing response, of triggering that internal pharmacy that has evolved over billions of years of evolutionary time. We call our emotions feelings because we harbor them in our body. Dr. Candice Pert says that our body is actually our subconscious mind. Brian Seward, a really wonderful stress management expert, says our body is the battleground for the wars that go on in our mind. Our body is the battleground for the wars that we wage in our mind. The theory is that as we navigate life, we go through two experiences which are both necessary for homeostasis: pleasure and pain. Of course, if we get stuck on pleasure, that's addiction. If we get stuck on pain, that's emotional suffering. And the reason we get stuck is we don't get intimate with our pain. We don't know what it is. We do not confront it. And if we do not, then the energy of that suppressed pain, when it is remembered, it surfaces as hostility. Hostility is nothing but remembered pain that we did not deal with in the past. Fear is the anticipation of pain in the future and the worry that we won't be able to deal with it because we didn't know how to deal with it in the past. And depression is the depletion of energy that occurs as a result of this. Like anything else, emotions, they're appropriate at certain times and they're inappropriate at other times. Anger can be an appropriate emotion expressed, you release the energy, and you're back to your normal self. But hostility, which has several components, cynical mistrust, a free-floating anger as a constant emotion, and expressions of hostility where you seek vengeance or you want to get even, that's hostility. That's a very major risk factor for heart disease. Fear and anxiety, guilt and depression, these are the major toxic emotions. We know the physiological havoc created by stress, the #1 disease of our civilization, and we also know it is responsible for some of the great epidemics of our time. One way of managing stress is through breathing techniques. The movement of breath and the movement of thought and the movement of spirit or consciousness are inseparably one. When we breathe, we animate our bodies with the life energy of the universe. Alternate nostril breathing is a perfect way to immediately settle down, and if you're feeling stressed, in less than 1 minute you can calm yourself down. You put one thumb over one nostril and you put 2 fingers over the other nostril. Breathe in through one nostril. Breathe out through the other nostril. Then breathe in through that nostril and breathe out through this nostril. But it synchronizes the rhythms of the 2 hemispheres of the brain, and it also calms you down and is an excellent way to relax and settle down if you're feeling stressed. Breath is the most primal of life instincts. We come to this world and we take a breath, and when we leave the world, we expire as well. The Dyspnea Center at BI is adopting, thanks to the chief of pulmonary medicine here, Dr. Woody Weiss, is adopting a very unique and individualized approach that looks at the emotional, psychological, and spiritual components of breathing disorders. The Old Testament talks about the primal life instinct of breath as the breath of life. The Lord God, it reminds us, made man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. For thousands of years, meditation has been used to quieten the mind. And when you quieten the mind and have a progressive silencing of your internal dialogue, then you get in touch with that field of silence, which is your soul, your spirit. I'm going to now take you through a procedure to do that. Are you ready? Yes. So you're sitting comfortably, just have your hands open like this, and we're going to do a simple mindfulness meditation, which means that you just observe your breath with your eyes closed, going in and out. And every time the breath spontaneously goes in, use the sound so. Say to yourself so mentally, and hum when the breath goes out. So on the inhale and hum on the exhale. So close your eyes now. And as we practice the so hum mantra, thoughts come. You might feel sensations in your body. You might hear sounds in the environment. Just gently go back to the mantra. The mind is quiet, the body is quiet, and inner energy is spontaneously awakened to heal your body. Okay, now you can open your eyes. Meditation is the most fundamental tool we have in evoking the healing response to get in touch with our spirit. Healing, health, wholeness, holy, they're all the same word. Ultimately, healing is the return of the memory of wholeness. And when our soul is aligned with the infinite consciousness that orchestrates the activity of the universe, then we experience synchrodestiny and the spontaneous fulfillment of our deepest desires. I was in Australia and New Zealand, and they were having a conference on what we later started to call the nocebo effect. Here's how it works. If you are an Aborigine in Australia, you go to and you have an enemy, you go to your local witch doctor. The witch doctor wears leopard skin, he has feathers in his cap, in his skull, he has a kangaroo bone, and he dances around a fire chanting Aborigine mantras. And after he's done his ritual, he gives the kangaroo bone to his client, and he says, now point this bone at your enemy. And amongst the Aborigines, once the bone is pointed, within 24 hours, the enemy starts to have nausea and vomiting. Within 6 days, the enemy gets totally dehydrated. In 10 days, the enemy is dead. In fact, I met with legislators in Australia where we considered banning the custom of pointing the bone as murder with a lethal weapon. Then I started to think. I said, you know, we don't wear leopard skins, we wear white coats. We don't have feathers in our head, we have stethoscopes around our neck. We don't dance around a fire, we dance around a CAT scanner. We don't use Aborigine mantras, we use Latin mantras. And when we prognosticate sometimes without addressing the other issues in a patient, even though sophisticated doctors don't do it anymore, but if the patient hears, I have only 6 months to live, then that's a nocebo, as much pointing the bone as the Aborigine going to the witch doctor. The great spiritual traditions, they say, see the world as an extension of yourself. They say that look at all relationship as a mirror, that those that we love and those that we hate are mirrors of ourselves. We love those in whom we find traits that we want in ourselves, and we are emotionally turned off by people in whom we find traits that we deny in ourselves. That confronting that reality moves us more and more into an intimacy with our non-local self or spirit. That internal dialogue plays an important role in the physiological processes of our body. That if our internal dialogue is from the ego, it's all me and mine, that creates a constricted awareness. If my internal dialogue is how can I serve, how can I love, then it creates a more expanded state of awareness where the power of intention becomes all-powerful. They also say, the great wisdom traditions, that in order to experience this spontaneous fulfillment of desire, which is what it is, you must have emotional freedom. That spirituality is not a place for melodrama or hysteria, but a place of extreme sobriety. They also say we must harmonize the masculine and the feminine forces in our own self. Because in many ways, we have been a predatory species. The fight-flight response was important. When the saber-toothed tiger was around there to eat us up and have us for lunch and breakfast and dinner. But now we've become the predator on this planet. We are the predator. I was speaking to an anthropologist friend of mine, and he said, if insects disappeared from this planet today, then in 5 years, all life on this planet would cease. They are so important to the ecosystem and the chain of being. And human beings, if they disappeared today from this planet, in 5 years, life would flourish on this planet. Because we are the predator. And what we have ignored is the feminine face of God. In the Eastern traditions, in India, it's called Shakti, the feminine face of divine intelligence that nurtures beauty and intuition and creativity and affection and tenderness and love. And unless there is the invitation to the feminine forces of the universe as a predatory species, we will suffer the same fate as all predatory species. After a while, they become extinct. Today, in many biological meetings that I go to, the word teleology crops up over and over again. What's the teleological explanation for this? And teleology implies purpose-driven evolution. It implies a little jump from Darwinian evolution to saying that there's creativity in the cosmos that is orchestrated by consciousness. I was recently in the Galapagos taking the journey that Charles Darwin took in 1835. And one of the most extraordinary things you see there is that just on a sudden impulse, you see these blue-footed boobies arise from different parts of the island, and they all go into the sky, and they move synchronistically as a cloud, but they arise at the same time. And then they all dive at the same time into the ocean, and just before they enter the ocean, they all fold their wings, so they all enter like torpedoes at exactly the same moment. And then they all emerge as torpedoes as well, at exactly the same moment. It's not like a leader saying, watch out, I'm going to take a left turn, and you follow me. It's a synchronistic dance. And insects show that, animals show that. In fact, there are studies that show if a mother and a baby are very bonded in the spirit of love, then if you separate the two, the mother can be at a cocktail party and the baby is at home, and as soon as the baby cries with hunger, the mother's breast leaks with milk. There's a response without sending an energy or information signal. All matter, even inanimate matter, is imbued, and there's a hierarchy of levels of subjectivity, reaching the highest level in the human nervous system, because we're the only species that is aware that we are aware, where it seems that there's a higher intelligence that is eavesdropping on my internal dialogue. Carl Jung spoke about coincidence as the creativity of the universe which is imbued with subjectivity. His friend Wolfgang Pauli, who was one of the early pioneers in quantum physics, called it meaningful correspondence. Some of the greatest discoveries of science has been results of coincidence. Alexander Fleming, looking for something else, finds a mold on his Petri dish, and we have penicillin. Okay. Einstein has a dream, a vision in which he sees himself flying and carried by a beam of light. The benzene ring is similarly discovered in a dream. So don't ignore coincidences, because coincidences are a message from God. They are an invitation to creativity. And I'd like to just tell you that it's been a great privilege to be here with all of you in this environment. It also brings me back my days of training here, where I sought to seek my soul. About 3 blocks from here, on South Huntington Avenue, I trained as a resident part of my training, but then I was assigned to an addictions unit at the VA hospital. This is the 70s, remember, but even today addiction happens to be the #1 disease of our civilization. I remember a patient I had here on a respirator for 3 weeks. I finally weaned him off the ventilator. 2 days later, I found him in the canteen. He was smoking through his tracheostomy tube. And I became convinced that addiction was a spiritual yearning, that addiction was a second-class substitute for the search for ecstasy. And the wisdom traditions of the world have told us that ecstasy is a primordial energy state, that it's the exaltation of spirit. And that's why addiction is so hard to treat. It's impossible almost, unless a person has an inner shift in consciousness, and then they become more fanatical about not being an addict than they were when they were an addict. So I became convinced that addiction is a spiritual disease and it has a spiritual cure. There's no other cure. And so that was my impulse to look for a spiritual dimension to healing. As I mentioned, the word healing and the word holy and the word health are all the same word. They are a return of the memory of wholeness. And so when I was writing one of my books, a friend of mine sent me a little English translation of an Egyptian papyrus that was discovered somewhere in the 1940s in the desert in Egypt. We don't know who the author of this Egyptian papyrus is. We only know that he or she lived in biblical times because there's a reference to Solomon, son of David. The writing is in Aramaic or Babylonian or some pre-Hebrew language. But whoever this person was, he understood the journey into healing. Because this is what he said, and I'd like to close my talk with a tribute to whoever this ancient author was. This person is speaking to God or spirit or the non-local domain of infinite possibilities, however we want to call it. And this is what the author says. You split me and you tore my heart open and you filled me with love. You poured your spirit into mine. I knew you as I know myself. My eyes are radiant with your light. My ears delight in your music. My nostrils are filled with your fragrance, and my face is covered with your dew. You have made me see all things shining. You have made me see all things new. You have granted me perfect ease, and I have become like paradise. And having become like paradise, my soul is healed. When you have that experience of euphoria inside, it's not just feeling good. It is the return of the memory of wholeness. And today, all of us are getting together to join hands so that we can combine the best technology in the world, the best scientific medicine in the world, and integrate it with the traditions of our ancestors. Thank you very much. In the last hour, we've been on a journey into healing. We have recognized that exaltation of spirit, ecstasy, is our primordial energy state. And when we experience that state, we have entered the soul of healing. The scriptures remind us that first there was the Word, and the Word was made into flesh. Eastern traditions say the same thing. The Word was vibration, nada Brahman. Brahman is the field of consciousness that vibrates itself into the material universe. In all the healing traditions of the world, sound has been used to evoke the healing response, because essentially sound is vibration, the universe is vibration, the physical body is vibration, and when there is resonance between the vibrations of the physical body and the biosphere, the body of the universe, which is conscious, then that synchronization, that resonance, that entrainment brings about healing. Sounds of the alphabet in all the languages, the Hebrew alphabet, are healing sounds because they create resonant fields that synchronize microcosm with macrocosm. Sounds of the alphabet in other traditions, paleolinguistic anthropologists tell us that if you trace the roots of language to their sounds, there is only vibration, which is very primordial in nature. And these primordial sounds are sounds of nature. When birds sing in the morning, they are nature singing in the morning. When crickets make that sound in the evening, that's nature speaking to us in the evening. The sound of wind, the sound of the ocean waves, the sound of thunder and lightning, these evoke primordial memories because our cells remember their history through evolutionary time. The sound of children laughing, the sound of horses galloping, the sound of music that is entraining our rhythms with the rhythms of the universe. They're all healing sounds. Today, science tells us that if you give somebody Narcan, which is a narcotic antagonist, then you abolish the enjoyment of sound, the experience of music, and you also deprive the person of the physiological benefit that occurs with the metabolism of sound. Which means really, in layperson's language, that when you're having a pleasurable experience through sound or through music, you're making endorphins or opiates that are like heroin that people buy on the street, except this opiate, this endorphin, also has immunomodulator effects, stimulates your immune system, it synchronizes your biological rhythms. Let me show you a few of the traditional sounds that are used in all the traditions. So you could take the sounds of the alphabet, A, E, I, O, U. So if I close my eyes and I make the sound Ah, I can feel the vibrations in my body. And not only can I feel the vibrations in my body, I can direct that vibration to any part of my body with intention and attention. Intention is the carrier of information, attention is the carrier of energy, and the sound is the vibration that carries that intention and that intention. When I make the sound I direct that to my sinuses, to my inner ear, ya, to loosen up my temporomandibular joint, hum for my lungs, ooh for the hollow organs of my body, the sound of breath as wind going through a tunnel. The sound taught to patients can abort an asthma attack, for example. So the sounds of the alphabet, which are universal to all languages, are healing sounds. Nature sounds are healing sounds. Mantra sounds are healing sounds. Gregorian chants are healing sounds. Animal sounds can be healing sounds. Birds singing, crickets in the evening, they're all healing sounds. And of course, healing traditions have used crystal bowls because they evoke different frequencies. Let me show you now. You could close your eyes and just feel your body as you listen to these sounds. Tibetan gongs with different vibratory frequencies that resonate in different parts of the body. So again, close your eyes and see which parts of your bodies resonate as I make these sounds. Different parts resonate. And when the sound subsides, listen to the silence. Listen to the roar of the silence. Listen to the absence of the sound. Listening to the silence, the absence of the sound, is as powerful and even more powerful than the vibration of the sound. It's meditation. Here's another example. These are Tibetan bells, and the sound is used to trap your attention, to trap your energy, to trap your intention, to channel the healing energy to different parts of the body. So the healer might be telling you to pay attention to a different part of the body, sending a message of healing there, and then entraining it with the sound of the bell. An anchoring experience neuro-associative conditioning, if you want to call it that. And so too the sounds of bells used before prayer or chanting. There are musical rhythms, musical beats that regulate heartbeat, that increase the heartbeat, that decrease the heartbeat, melodies that evoke emotional responses that in turn evoke biological responses. Music has been used for thousands of years in the ancient wisdom tradition of the Vedanta, where Ayurveda has its roots. The music is called Gandharva Veda music. It synchronizes the rhythms of the body, whether they're circadian rhythms that have to do with the spinning of the earth on its own axis, the circadian rhythm which is disrupted when, for example, we have jet lag, or the seasonal rhythm. When you fall in love in spring and get depressed in winter, there's a biochemical reason for that. And we can understand that there is a disruption in the resonance, the vibration of the body, which can be restored through the appropriate music for the season, for the time of the day, lunar rhythms, circadian rhythms, seasonal rhythms, even the tides of the earth, even the tides of the oceans, which have to do with the gravitational effects of the sun and the moon on the earth, cause the changing of the rhythms in our body. It is important to recognize that sound by itself, even though it's pleasurable and enjoyable, you can't think, oh, I'm just going to play this gong and I'm going to be healed. It has to be integrated with the rest of the healing experience. In other words, a holistic approach is exactly that, wholeness. Healing is the return of the memory of wholeness, and it is at the level of the environment, through our senses, through understanding our inner world of thoughts and feelings, emotions, desires, fantasies and dreams, and ultimately getting in touch with our soul. That's why it's holy, it's wholeness, it's whole. Healing is the return of the memory of wholeness. Take a little time every day to quieten the mind and then listen to some sound that evokes either nostalgia, a pleasurable experience, a beautiful memory. Listen to the sounds of innocent children laughing. Listen to the sounds of nature, Gregorian chants. You know, the word enchantment comes from on, which means to become one, and chant, to chant. Enchantment is the magic of healing that happens when you become one with the Spirit through chanting. And the chanting is the primordial vibrations of nature. When rhythm, harmony, melody, mood, synchronicity all come together and you feel that experience of euphoria within, that sense of happiness, then you're generating happy molecules. Happy thoughts make happy molecules. Happy feelings make happy molecules. But this internal sense of joy or euphoria is not just about just feeling good. It's about physiological things that are happening in your body that have ramifications far beyond feeling good. That feeling of internal euphoria or joy or pleasure generates a cascade of events in your body, physiological events that synchronistically come together as a result of that music and harmony and melody to create the experience of joy and healing at the same time. When I hear the sound, I feel a very strong vibration in my heart, and I release all the emotions that I've been holding. There's a release of emotional energy, a surrender, a letting go, an ease. But you know, sound, of course, has cultural connotations, so different people respond to different vibrations, different sounds, different music. It's always good to know that healing is best in the context of your own culture. I've given you a few examples of Eastern traditions, but I've also mentioned Gregorian chants, which are the Western equivalent of mantras, if you will. So each tradition, each culture has a contextual base of vibration or sound, but it all harkens back to the original idea that first there was the word, first there was the vibration, and the vibration was made into flesh. So if you change the vibration, you change the expression in the flesh, in the body as well. Listen to the sound of that ocean, those waves. Those sounds have been there for a long, long time. They are primordial. And your cells remember those sounds. And when your cells resonate to those sounds, they tune in to the rhythms of the universe. Through eons of time, the inner intelligence, the consciousness, the soul, the spirit that has expressed itself through eons of time in biological organisms, it remembers that sound. That sound is part of the rhythms of our body. So when we listen to that sound, when we relate to that sound, and when we entrain, synchronize with that sound, then we are once again tuning in to the rhythms of the cosmos. The ocean waves are a result of the gravitational effects of the sun and the moon on the earth, and we have an ocean inside us. A long time ago, we lived in that primordial ocean. One day we came out of it, and we brought it with us. More than 60% of our body is that ocean. It has the same constituents and is subject to the same cycles as that ocean is. So inside us we have biological rhythms that are tidal rhythms. Shakespeare says there's a tide in the affairs of men which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. There are tidal rhythms, there are gravitational rhythms, there are circadian rhythms, there are seasonal rhythms, there are lunar rhythms. And when we are perfectly entrained with those rhythms, not only do we feel a great sense of balance in our body, because the homeostatic mechanisms in our body tune in to the cycles and homeostasis and the rhythms of the biosphere, the universe of which we are a part. As is the human body, so is the cosmic body. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. As is the atom, so is the universe. As is the human mind, so is the cosmic mind. So when we are totally tuned in, not only are we healthy, but we experience synchronicity. Listen to those sounds. Listen to the sound of the gulls. Our cells remember these sounds. There's almost a nostalgic feeling when we hear nature sounds, when we hear the rush of wind, when we hear the ocean waves, when we hear the sound of the seagulls. There's a memory that is evoked. It's a primordial memory. It's a cellular memory. And healing is nothing other than the restoration of that memory of wholeness, that we are not separate from the universe, that we are inextricably woven into the patterns of intelligence that weave the fabric of the universe. We are a strand in this cosmic web, and when we feel aligned with the elements and forces that weave that cosmic web, not only is there a sense of balance and health and well-being, there's a sense of joy, of exaltation, of ecstasy, and that's when we start to experience the synchronistic intelligence of the universe. Look at those gulls. That's a perfect example of synchronistic behavior, non-local domain. They are synchronized in their flight patterns. They are communicating with each other without sending each other energy or information signals, because they are dancing to the same music, or rather flying to the same music. The skin and the gastrointestinal tract are the largest sources of the endocrine hormones in the body. They make healing chemicals, and the skin comes from the same germ layer as the brain. It's called the neuroectoderm. So when you massage your skin, then touch becomes healing therapy, because once again it triggers the internal pharmacy. And all kinds of wonderful things can be introduced through the skin, including antioxidants, phytochemicals, nutrients. You'd have to drink a lot of those or take a lot of those orally, but if you put these nutrients and healing chemicals in the oils that get absorbed through the skin, then you have access to the inner pharmacy. Maureen, who's our head therapist, will tell us what we have here. What are these oils, Maureen? What's this one?
This one is the Vata oil. It's a combination of sesame and safflower oil.
Okay, so just let me pause there. Sesame and safflower oil are both highly absorbable through the skin, and they contain antioxidants in and of themselves. But you also have some herbs in it.
That's correct.
So what's the herb combination?
Dashmula,
which is about 10 different herbs, which are, of course, phytochemicals, phytonutrients, micronutrients, and antioxidants. And then what's the other oil?
This is Pitta oil. Again, it's the sesame and safflower.
Sesame and safflower, which are traditionally used because they have a very high rate of absorption through the skin. What's the herb in it?
The herb is Brahmi.
Brahmi, which is also known as Centinella asiatica. Brahmi is very calming. It's called a nervine. It's rejuvenative. It's used for people who have insomnia, migraine headaches, tension, muscle aches and pains. And then you have a third oil there.
The third one is for kapha.
And what's the herb there?
The herb in there is neem.
The herb is neem, and that's another very famous herb. It's also known as Persian lilac. It has a Latin name which is a little complicated, but neem is used for rejuvenation. It's used for removing toxins. It's anti-inflammatory. It's been used thousands of years in many healing traditions across the world. So now we see the skin is also a gateway to our inner pharmacy. It has hormones and neuropeptides and all the things that I mentioned before, the healing chemicals of the body, but we can access this through oils, through self-massage. And Maureen will actually demonstrate self-massage that you can do in 3 minutes, which is very invigorating, which is very healing, which is very balancing, which you can use either to increase energy or calm yourself down or trigger the healing response from within.
The self-massage I'm going to demonstrate is very simple. It can be done in about 3 to 5 minutes. You can do this at the beginning of your day before you take your shower, or at the end of the day if you've had a hard day. It's a really nice way to help you relax for the evening, just before bed. So normally I like to start off with the head. This is a friction massage, so you would start off with a little friction on the scalp. Moving to the face. And the neck. Don't forget about the ears. Ears are very important. Get the inside of the ears, lubricate your ears. Back down the neck. To the chest. Moving to the shoulder. At the joints, you want to make circular motions. At the long bones, nice long back and forth strokes to build up the friction, which is heating. Again, circular motion at the joints. Along the wrists. Don't forget the hands, pulling off at each finger, pulling all the tension out of your fingers. Moving to the belly. When you massage the belly, you want to make sure that you're moving in the direction of digestion. Moving to the hips. And for the lower half of the body, it's best to have a chair so that you can sit down and balance yourself. Again, at the long bones, you want to make long strokes up and down the thigh. Circular motion at the knees. Long strokes in the lower part of the leg. Really build up that heat there. Now at the ankles, circular. And we don't want to forget about the feet. The feet are very important. All of your nerve endings are at the bottom of your feet. And this feels wonderful with warm oil at the end of a long day. As you can see, this only takes a few moments. It can be done first thing in the morning, or anytime you're feeling a little bit of stress during the day, you can recreate that moment of relaxation.
The most exquisite pharmacy already exists in nature. Nature doesn't come to you and say, hey, I'm a vitamin, I'm a mineral, I'm a bioflavonoid and anthocyanidin. It says, taste me, look at me, smell me. The 6 tastes of life, sweet, sour, salt, bitter, pungent, astringent, and the 7 colors of the rainbow have all the nutrients, including all the micronutrients, the phytochemicals derived from the energy of the sun to give us everything that we need. Food is medicine. So tell me, Leanne's the chief chef here at the Chopra Center. Tell me what the 6 tastes are here.
Well, we have our sweet fruits and vegetables.
So here are the sweet fruits and vegetables.
The bananas, the melons, the mangoes,
and
peaches.
What do we have here? Sour?
We have the sour vegetables and fruits.
Tell me what they are.
Tomatoes
Here, the
and
grapes.
oranges, lemons,
And strawberries.
pineapple.
And that's natural salt from seaweed, I see.
Correct.
And tell me where the bitter foods
We
are.
have bitter foods here in the dark leafy green vegetables.
And the yellow vegetables
Yellows,
as well.
Right.
Okay, and where's the pungent taste? Here, I see.
Pungent, we have the green chilies, and we have the ginger, we have garlic, onion, all those are pungent.
And astringent, that thing that makes you pucker your mouth like tea or coffee.
Well, we have the eggplant, the cauliflower, broccoli, strawberries, all those are astringent.
So you see, here we are, something very interesting. The combination of sweet, sour, and salt decreases your metabolism. If you're the kind of person who says, I can eat anything I want and never seem to gain weight, then you need to take those and that'll calm you down and decrease your metabolism. On the other hand, the combination of bitter, pungent, and astringent, here we have bitter, pungent, and astringent right in this corner, that stimulates your metabolism. If you have the right combination of bitter, pungent, and astringent, you actually can burn off more calories than are contained in those combinations. If you've ever been to an ethnic restaurant and you see people sweating because they're taking this combination, they're burning off more calories than are contained in those foods. That combination, bitter, pungent, astringent. So if you're the kind of person who wants to lose weight, then favor these and minimize these, but take all of them because they contain all the nutrients. And similarly, astringent, sweet, and bitter is anti-inflammatory. So astringent here, as in this fruit, eggplant, and bitter here, and then sweet here, that combination is anti-inflammatory. And today we are finding out a lot about the science of biosynergy. When you take just one active chemical out, and you synthesize it, you might take the intelligence out, but you leave the wisdom behind. Nature has a wisdom that is much more superior to isolated chemical intelligence. Nature is the best and most exquisite pharmacy. Aromatherapy has been used for thousands of years, since the ancient times, to influence memory, to improve behavior, to influence emotions, and for healing. So when we link our emotions, our autonomic function, our smells and memories together with aromatherapy, we have a great window to the internal pharmacy. Your smell receptors are direct extensions of a part of your brain called the hypothalamus, which connects with your emotional brain called the limbic system. So smell is linked to emotions, to behavior, to autonomic function, to memory. You smell baking bread and you think of your grandmother. You smell a perfume, you're reminded of an old romance, etc., etc. But smells have been used for thousands of years for healing because they influence autonomic function, which means blood pressure, heart rate, metabolic rate, etc. So, Catherine, you have a few aromas here that are traditionally used in aromatherapy in Ayurveda.
We do. We have
Tell
some
me.
dosha-specific essential oils here.
Mm-hmm.
The first one we have here is the Vata essential oil.
So dosha-specific, constitution-specific. What does that contain, the Vata oil?
It has some fruitier aromas, warming. It has rose,
So
lavender.
fruity and floral aromas like rose and lavender, they calm us, they slow the metabolism. They're extremely useful in people who have menstrual dysfunction, who have migraine headaches, muscle spasms, irritable bowel, insomnia, restlessness, anxiety.
Exactly.
Floral and fruity, rose, jasmine, etc.
Exactly.
What else do you have here?
Next we have the Pitta essential oil, which is has more sweet and cooling
Aromas. So
aromas.
pittas are essential oils which are anti-inflammatory, they're cooling. So peppermint, spearmint, sandalwood, this is the combination. And so if somebody has inflammatory emotions like anger or hostility, or they have inflammatory reactions in their body like heartburn or hypertension, then the cooling smells are extremely helpful for them. And then you have something else here?
The last one we have is the Kapha essential oil, which is more stimulating and spicy.
So what does it have here?
It has eucalyptus, black pepper, clove.
Okay, so those smells, eucalyptus, black pepper, clove, etc., camphor, they stimulate you, increase your metabolism, somebody wanting to lose weight or energize themselves. You see this very exquisite combination of aromas can influence your metabolism. It can be anti-inflammatory, it can be calming and soothing, it can be stimulating and energizing. And I think you have some other spices here. What do you have, clove and...
Yes, this is a combination of black pepper and clove.
Black pepper and clove, traditionally used to stimulate metabolism. If somebody is trying to lose weight, they combine these different senses. So they eat bitter, pungent, astringent foods, and then they take these aromas, the stimulating, and they influence their metabolism. It's a remarkable way to access your internal pharmacy. The movement of breath, the movement of spirit, the movement of consciousness, and the movement of thought are the same movement. Because when we breathe, we animate our bodies with the life energy of the universe. Let me show you a few breathing techniques that you can use to improve your state of well-being. The first breathing technique is called the alternate nostril breathing. So you put one thumb over one nostril and you put two fingers over the other nostril. These two fingers are good. You breathe in. Breathe in through one nostril, breathe out through the other nostril, then breathe in through that nostril and breathe out through this nostril, the other nostril. This is called alternative nostril breathing. I'll show you an example of it, but it synchronizes the rhythms of the two hemispheres of the brain, and it also calms you down and is an excellent way to relax and settle down if you're feeling stressed. That's alternate nostril breathing. A second form of breathing. These breathing exercises in the great yogic traditions of India are called pranayam. Prana is the word for the life energy of the universe. It's the same as chi in China. And pranayama is how do we harmonize with the life energy of the universe, and how do we incorporate it in our breathing awareness, because breath is the spirit, the animating force of life. So here's a breathing technique that's called Ujjayi. It's a very energizing technique. First of all, it's very important for you to know that when you breathe in, your diaphragm should move down and your stomach should move outward. And when you breathe out, the stomach moves inward and the diaphragm moves upward. So you expel the air with great efficiency. Ujjayi breathing is a very particular sound that comes from breath. When you squeeze the back of your throat and you inhale, making a sound that's very similar to the sound of wind going through a tunnel. So when I make this sound, now I'll make that same sound, but this time I'll make it through my nostrils, squeezing the back of my throat, moving my diaphragm outward as I breathe in and inward as I breathe out. Watch me and listen to the sound. It's very important that you listen to the sound. Practicing a minute or so of this sound can actually increase your stamina, increase your endurance. Lots of times I teach long distance runners, marathon runners, to practice this breathing as they are running. The third sound is called bhastrika. It's the sound of bellows. So you inhale normally, but you exhale with force. So inhale normally here. And if you speed that up, that's a really good workout for your stomach muscles and also for your diaphragm. And if you practice bhastrika or bellows breath, so you inhale slowly and then exhale fast. And when you exhale fast, that sound is made, and comes through your nose. And that's a great way to increase your metabolism and energize you. There are many other kinds of breathing techniques. There's one called Shitali. We breathe in through the folded tongue and breathe out through a folded tongue. That has the effect of cooling the body. So if you're feeling upset, angry, and you have a lot of frustration, you can cool down, settle down with this breath. So you see, there are so many ways that we can take the energy prana and through pranayama actually bring about balance in the body, energize it, cool it, calm it, increase the stamina. There are hundreds of pranayama techniques that we teach at our center as part of the practice of mind-body coordination, all part of yoga, union, integration between body, mind, and spirit. Here's a classic meditation for balancing body, mind, and spirit. It's known as the chakra balancing meditation. Chakras are junction points between physiology and consciousness. So the first chakra is the root of the spine. And see the color red? So that's the color of the first chakra. and its mantra is Lam. Mantra is a primordial sound, a vibration. Close your eyes, put your attention, hopefully you're sitting or standing comfortably, and your spine is erect. So put your attention on the first chakra, the root of the spine. Close your eyes, visualize the color red, and pronounce the following mantra, first loudly and then silently. Lam. Now put your attention on the second chakra, which is also in the back of the spine, but at the level of the genital area. So your attention is on the second chakra. Visualize the color orange. Close your eyes and mentally pronounce the mantra Vam. Now put your attention on the third chakra, which is here in the pit of the stomach, the epigastrium, the solar plexus. The third chakra is yellow. Pronounce the mantra Ram. Now put your attention on the heart chakra, the chakra of love and compassion and peace and harmony. And over here, put your attention on the color green. See that green? And the mantra is Yam, so yummy yum. Okay, put your attention here on the heart chakra and close your eyes, visualize the color green, and the mantra is Yum. Now put your attention on the throat chakra. The color is blue. It's the chakra for expression. And the mantra is Hum. So put your attention here, close your eyes, and visualize the color blue, and then pronounce the mantra Hum. And now put your attention on the sixth chakra. The color, as you can see, is indigo. It's like the ink color. And here's the third eye, the eye of intuition. Put your attention over there and close your eyes. And this is the classic mantra for intuition and higher consciousness and awakening. So once again, the color is indigo. Put your attention on the third eye, and the mantra is Om. And finally, the crown chakra, the top of the head. The color is all the colors of the rainbow, but violet dominates, the color of spirituality, connecting with the infinite consciousness. Put your attention here, and this time just close your eyes and be completely silent. That's the chakra balancing exercise. See, all these chakras, the root chakras here are survival instincts. Here, the gut feelings that we have, the feelings for compassion, expression, intuition, higher consciousness. In 3 minutes, you can do a chakra balancing exercise, and when you finish, you'll feel relaxed, you'll feel invigorated, and you'll feel in touch with your soul. Meditation is one of the most important tools for evoking the healing response from within yourself. For thousands of years, meditation has been used to quieten the mind. And when you quieten the mind and have a progressive silencing of your internal dialogue, then you get in touch with that field of silence, which is your soul, your spirit, which intelligently orchestrates all the activity in your body. So when the mind is quiet, the body is quiet, and inner energies spontaneously awaken to bring about the healing response. So I'm going to now take you through a procedure to do that. Are you ready?
Yes.
So you're sitting comfortably, just have your hands open like this, and we're going to do a simple mindfulness meditation, which means that you just observe your breath with your eyes closed, going in and out. And every time the breath spontaneously goes in, use the sound so. Say to yourself so mentally, and hum when the breath goes out. So on the inhale and hum on the exhale. Once again, so on the inhale, hum on the exhale. So close your eyes now, and as you close your eyes and you use the mantra so on the inhale and hum on the exhale, of course your mind will wander. You might become aware of thoughts and sensations in your body or sounds in your environment, and when that happens, just go back to the mantra so hum, so hum. Let's do it for a few minutes. Now keep your eyes closed, but stop repeating the mantra and just take half a minute to 1 minute before you gently open your eyes. Okay, now you can open your eyes. So for 20 minutes we practice the So Hum mantra as the mindfulness meditation. On the in-breath, so, on the out-breath, hum. Thoughts will come, you might feel sensations in your body, you might hear sounds in the environment. Just gently go back to the mantra. What happens is, as the mantra interferes with the thoughts, and the thoughts interfere with the mantra, a time comes when they both interfere with each other so much that they cancel each other out. And at that moment, there's complete stillness and you're in touch with your soul. And now the mind is quiet, the body is quiet, and inner energy is spontaneously awakened to heal your body. This is the most important tool in evoking the healing response. And now that we have understood the mindfulness meditation, let's do a healing meditation, a heart meditation, and show you how to change your heart rate and blood pressure and so on, which is extremely useful for people who are having stress. Although the basic mindfulness meditation is also extremely useful. Okay, so close your eyes again, and for a minute or two, let's practice the So Hum mantra again. So on the inhale and hum on the exhale. And as we practice the So Hum mantra, thoughts come, we feel sensations in our body, we hear sounds in the environment, we gently go back to the So Hum mantra. Now keep your eyes closed, but let go of the mantra. And put all your attention in your heart, in the area of your heart, in the center of your chest. Put all your awareness in that area. And for the next few minutes, experience gratitude. When you experience gratitude, your ego gets out of the way automatically. You can't have gratitude and ego at the same time. And the best way to experience gratitude is to think of all the things that are happening right now in your life for which you could be grateful. Your family, your friends, the people you love, the people who love you. Everybody has a lot to be grateful about. So just think of things that evoke gratitude right now. All the while, feeling gratitude and having your awareness in your heart. And now you can let go of that, and with all your awareness, feel your heartbeat. Experience your heartbeat either as a sound or a sensation. So put all your awareness in your heart and feel your heartbeat either as a sound or a sensation. Feel your heartbeat either as a sound or a sensation. And as you're feeling your heartbeat, either as a sound or a sensation, tell your heart, slow down mentally. Mentally tell your heart, slow down. And now bring your awareness into your open hands and feel your heart throbbing in your hands. Just have that intention. And if you feel your heart throbbing in your hands, you'll feel a tingling or a warmth or even a little throbbing pulse. And what you're doing now, since you've already slowed your heart rate, is you're increasing the blood flow to your hands, and the blood vessels are dilating, and as a result your blood pressure is also dropping. So feel your heart throbbing in your hands, either as a sensation or as a warmth or as a tingling or a pulse. And now once again, bring your awareness back into your heart, feeling your heartbeat either as a sound or a sensation. And now bring your awareness into your face. Bring your awareness into your face and feel your heart throbbing in your face. And you'll feel again a warmth, a tingling, a sensation, a slight throbbing sensation, a pulse in your face. You're diverting the blood flow into your face. And now think of a place in your body that needs healing, and just bring your awareness, no thoughts, just awareness, to any place in your body that needs healing. And if you don't think you need physical healing, then all of us need some emotional healing, bring it back into your heart. But you can move your awareness to any part of your body that requires healing. Let's practice that for a few minutes, just shifting our awareness. Our awareness is consciousness, and consciousness is spirit. Consciousness, awareness, spirit are all the same things. They are the inner intelligence that synchronistically orchestrates all the information and energy in our bodies. So play with your awareness and move it around to any part that needs healing. If you want, you can take a few deep breaths. We are coming now to the end of our meditation. So now very gently, start to open your eyes. Slowly open your eyes, half open and then quietly full open. Take your time. Okay, now you can open your eyes. So let me ask you a question. When I asked you to feel, after you felt the gratitude, when I asked you to feel your heartbeat as a sound or a sensation, did you feel your heart slow down? And then you felt the blood flow in your hands? How many people can do that? Not many people. They take pop pills for blood pressure and so on. So if you just do that and you start getting into the habit of doing that, you're feeling stressed, just put your attention in the heart and then bring it to your hands, because now you know how to do it. Similarly, you can divert blood flow. Did you feel a rush of blood in your face when I asked you to do that? So the reason I chose the hands and the face is that these places in our body have lots of nerves, so we can get feedback. But the fact is, you can divert healing energy and blood flow to any part of your body by having that intention. The prerequisite, of course, is that your internal dialogue, your mind has to be quiet. So now we have an excellent tool. First, the Soham meditation, to go into that state of deep silence. That's the most important thing, to be able to quieten the mind. Once you're able to do that, then now you can really use your intention. So the best way to evoke the power of intention is get your ego out of the way, and because you don't want the ego interfering with spirit. And how do you get your ego out of the way? You experience gratitude, and it's easy to do that. You think of all the things that you're grateful for. Then you put your attention in your heart and you feel the sensation of as a sound. Some people hear the sound, some people feel the sensation. It's different for different people. Then divert the blood to your hands as I taught you, then divert it to your face, and then move it anywhere else. Okay? So awareness, consciousness, spirit, intelligence, they're all the same word. Use awareness, inner intelligence, consciousness or spirit, and bring it to any part of your body. And you don't have to think anything, you just have to have it there. Spirit is there, and let it allow it to do what it does spontaneously. Okay, let me summarize. Meditation quietens the mind. By quietening the mind, it quietens the body. Your metabolic rate goes down, your immune system is stimulated, and there are literally thousands of physiological parameters, hormones, cortisol, stress levels, all that changes just by quietening the mind. So meditation, the ability to think is an extraordinary human ability, but the ability to not think is even more extraordinary. Meditation is a way to just be and allow your spirit to blossom with its fullness, with its purity, with its intelligence. We have the tools here. Quietening the mind and then the heart meditation. Okay? Great. Thank you.